These are all really important terms, really important things to think through when thinking about what you're investing in. Are you going to get a return on the money you're spending? So at APU specifically, our student to faculty ratio is 11:1. Our average class size is 19. Majors with impacted class is 0. So when you get in, you won't have to worry about graduating late because you weren't able to get the classes you need. We have all the classes you need to be able to graduate on time. And then jobs on campus, 2,000 plus. So we've got over 2,000 jobs for students so that you could also work towards paying for your education. Those are a few of the things you're investing in during college, but there are plenty more. I'm always happy to wax poetic about why it's important to invest in a good education at a good university who is going to be able to help you both during college and after college as well, after you graduate. So some key things you're investing in as you pay for college for afterwards, after you graduate: continuing education and employability. So grad schools and getting a job. That is the reason we go to college. We go to college for great experiences, to meet lifelong friends. We go to college for a number of reasons, but the foundational aspect of college is to prepare you for your future. And that future looks like entering into the workforce. It looks like doing continuing education at grad schools, getting further degrees. And at AP, we want to be very specific in setting you up for that. So like I said, graduate school placement, finding a job, and then also salary. So both salary early in career and salary over the span of someone's career. We deeply believe that your career success isn't tied to money. Success isn't tied to the amount of money you make in a lifetime. Success looks like so many different things for different people. But we also want to make sure that you have a job where you get money to be able to pay rent, buy food, support your family, and that college is a great launching pad to be able to launch towards success. So in the class of 2019 at APU, 86% of students found work or continued their education 6 months after graduating. So 86% of that graduating class is either in a job or in grad school. We really are proud of this number because it means that our students are wanted, both by higher education institutions, as well as jobs, as well as markets. Our alumni continue to study at places all across the United States and the world. Princeton, Duke, Johns Hopkins. I actually have a good friend who he's friends with Beth too, John Matthew, who is in med school at Johns Hopkins, got in directly after he graduated APU and is there to become a surgeon. UCLA, USC. I'm from Oklahoma, so I'm really trying to get some people to go to grad school in Oklahoma because I think Oklahoma doesn't get enough love. And in their early career, so through Niche, it's an online website that reviews colleges. In students' early careers, AP alumni earn more. So 2 years after graduating, the average student makes $42,200 per year from Azusa Pacific, and the national average is right at $27,000. And then 6 years after graduating, an AP student is at $51,000, whereas the national average is at $33,000. So projected over an entire career, students make more on average with an APU degree. So that's the investment piece. Now we're moving into affordability. Probably the number one thing that I've seen that keeps students from applying to schools that are private schools is the sticker price. So the sticker price is the total price. It's what you see, that's tuition, room and board, health insurance, books, everything added up, that total price per year. One of the, what I hope will become a worst kept secret, I want everyone to hear this, is that the true cost of attendance for private colleges is actually much lower than the sticker price. It's a lot lower for two primary reasons: who receives aid and how much aid is offered. So private schools get to determine, and public schools as well, but working in the private school sector, I always think specifically about private schools. Private schools get to determine how much aid they offer. They get to determine who receives that aid. So for example, at APU, 100% of our students receive some form of aid from Azusa Pacific specifically. You will receive at least $10,000 per year in aid, and that's actually regardless of need. So people from every tax bracket, every income bracket do receive aid to come to APU. And then APU also offers some of the highest scholarship packages of the schools in our category in Southern California. We want to make sure that we put our money, literally our money where our mouth is, that we also invest in your future. Just as you're investing, we want to invest as well. So the average true cost of APU is $25,451 per year, and the national average for private institutions is $32,300. That's from the Department of Education. So we want to do our best to make that true cost much lower than our competitors, as well as the sticker price points towards. And then a big thing also is debt. I will preach about this until the cows come home. That's a phrase from Oklahoma. I don't know if it's in California yet. It's really cool. But I'll preach about this. We want to be transparent about our financial aid. That's why we have events like this. And one thing we want to be really transparent about is the reality of debt. We don't want students to have to take out too much debt to be able to attend college. And so we want to set up one-on-one conversations with you to talk about that, to talk about where you're at, to talk about what you need to be able to come to APU, and then to talk through debt. And I think because of our commitment to transparency, our students graduate with less debt than the national average. So the average student at APU graduates with $23,092 in debt, which is a very manageable sum, whereas national private school average is $29,900. The last thing we want is for you to graduate and feel like you can't enter into the jobs you want, or you can't get ahead because you have so much debt to pay off. We want you to have a manageable amount to where you're able to pay that off early on in your career, as opposed to being saddled with that throughout the length of your career. Now we will transition into specifics. So specifics of the process of applying for financial aid. Like I said at the opening slide, there are 3 levels to this. There's scholarships, there's grants, and then there's loans. We'll talk about all 3. We'll begin with scholarships. So the basic definition of scholarships is free money awarded based on academic or other achievements. So this money isn't based on your income level, your taxes, your need. It's based on your merit. So it's based on a couple different things. It could be based on academics. So common sources for this will be GPA and test scores. If you have a high GPA, high test score, you will often receive a higher academic scholarship from schools. This year, most schools, I feel confident saying most schools aren't requiring test scores. Be sure to ask the school you're applying to, however, if they, 1, require test scores for admissions, and then 2, require test scores for financial aid. Sometimes those aren't the same thing. At APU, we aren't requiring test scores for either. So you don't need test scores to be admitted into APU, and you also don't need test scores for financial aid. Our scale is based on the GPA. There's also program-based scholarships. So this could be sports, it could be clubs, or it could be major specific. It could be your specific degree program has a scholarship for you. And then finally, we have outside scholarships. So outside scholarships, it could be local. So that would be, I would like talking to your high school career and college counselor or guidance counselor, emailing local businesses, local clubs. Often local towns do have scholarship money through different sources. One also was my church. My church offered scholarships to students, specifically students who are going to study, like I was, study theology, so study to become pastors. There are sometimes scholarships to that, and there's national and international as well, and you can find those online. 2 really helpful websites that we encourage students to check out are fastweb.com and scholarships.com. I personally am a FastWeb guy. I used FastWeb 10 years ago when I was applying. I know I look like I'm a freshman in college, but surprise, I'm not. I used FastWeb when I was applying for college. And what it is, it's kind of like a search engine for scholarships. It's like a Google for scholarships. What you do, it's free. you create a profile. It asks you for obviously your name. It will ask you for GPA, test scores, gender, right hand, left hand, height, hair color. There are scholarships for left-handed people and people with red hair. And there's also more traditional scholarships, for example, women in STEM fields. There will be scholarships specifically based on if you want to be a social worker, a sociologist. What it does is it gets rid of any scholarships that don't apply to you, and it shows you exactly what scholarships could be a good fit for you so you can apply. And those outside scholarships will apply to any school you go to generally. So I'd encourage you to look at that. At APU specifically, our academic scholarships look like this. So we have everything from a trustees scholarship to a Mary Hill Award. The trustees scholarship is application-based. I think I saw that everyone in here is seniors. So unfortunately, the trustees scholarship, that application has passed. The due date is November 15th each year. If we do have any juniors, sophomores, freshmen, third graders, in your senior year, November 15th of your senior year is when that trustees scholarship application is due. For all the others, we still have plenty available if you haven't already applied. They range from Presidents to Mary Hill. They are based this year just on GPA. On a typical year, it's a sliding scale between GPA and test score. For this year, however, it is just based on GPA, and these are given annually. So you receive them all 4 years. It's not like a one and done situation where you have to apply each year for it. As long as you maintain a 2.8 GPA, you will receive these scholarships all 4 years. Again, that's because we want students to receive scholarship. We don't want to keep all of the money to ourselves. We want to be able to assist you and help you be able to get through school and do it making great grades. Other forms of scholarship at APU are program-based. So it could be athletics. We are Division II. We have a number of different athletics programs. If you are interested in that, feel free to send something in the question and answer, and Beth can send you the recruitment form for your specific sport. Just say what sport you're interested in, and we have a recruitment form that you'll fill out. That's your first step. It's kind of like raising your hand, and coaches will get that and can be in contact to talk through that, but we do have scholarships available. We also have departmental scholarships. A great example for this is theater arts and music. They have specific scholarships that they're able to offer that are unrelated to our admissions office. So it's through an application as well as auditions. They do give scholarships each year to outstanding students entering into that major. And then we have others. We have a multi-ethnic leadership scholarship. That due date is February 15th, so it's coming up. It is for students who are passionate about conversations surrounding diversity. It is housed in our Student Center for Reconciliation Diversity. It is for students of any ethnicity, and students who want to be about having those conversations. We believe deeply in having equitable and diverse community inside the classroom and on our campus. And so if you're interested in that scholarship, Beth, actually, would you mind just dropping that link in the chat so that people can click on that to check out the website, see if it's a good fit for you, and you can apply for that. And we have speech and debate, so forensics, scholarships, we have ROTC, we have Army and Air Force on campus. But there are scholarships that go along with that as well. If you have any questions, like I said, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A. With a topic like this, there are so many details I could go into, so it always pains me to not dive into the nitty-gritty on every single thing. But that would be probably a 24-hour presentation. And by probably the third hour, you'd get very bored. I'm also all I have are really cheesy jokes. So that would get old after a while, if it hasn't already. Next subject, grants. So whereas scholarships were merit-based, grants are need-based. So it's free money based on financial need determined by the FAFSA. What is the FAFSA? Great question. I remember in the poll, I think 9 of you, I believe, had filled out the FAFSA, and then about 5, 6 of you hadn't yet filled out the FAFSA. What the FAFSA is, it's the free application for federal student aid, and it is required for all grants. So in order to qualify for any form of grant, we have to have that FAFSA. If you are a student living in California who can't fill out the FAFSA, there is the California DREAM Act as well, and that will suffice. So either the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act is required to be completed for all grants. Like I said, grants are need-based, so the FAFSA is a federal tool to determine how much you need. So it determines what we call the EFC. This is where the acronyms come in. EFC is the estimated family contribution. So the FAFSA is a series of questions where you'll also turn in your tax returns from the previous year to kind of show where you fit. A common misconception that EFC number that's given to you is not a dollar amount. So that number isn't saying this is how much your family can pay to attend university. That is kind of like a very specific tax bracket. It puts you in relation to everyone else who has filled out the FAFSA that year. So it can go from 0 on up to quite a bit, but that is one of the most common misconceptions, is that EFC number is a dollar amount. It's actually a classification. And so that's why you have to fill it out, because that shows us, just the state of California, shows APU, your need level. That EFC is used to determine need, and so we do need that. And the DREAM Act also provides something very similar. So either one will provide that scale, that number we need. And this is pretty basic, but the lower a family's EFC, the more grants a student is eligible for. So the closer to 0 your EFC is, it's kind of like golf, the lower the score, the more money you are eligible to get to go to APU, to go to schools in general. And then finally, your FAFSA can be sent to your top 10 schools. So if you are applying to 15 schools, you can only choose 10 of them to send your FAFSA information to when you complete it. And as some drop out, you can always go in and edit and swap schools. So you aren't stuck, like it's not like concrete, like only those 10 schools get it. You can change those out as you become more interested in some schools and less interested in others. And then a tip, be sure to use FAFSA.gov. I absolutely hate this, but there are people in the world who just want to take your money and they want to scam you. And so there are websites out there that say, this is the FAFSA. If anything ever asks for if it asks for your credit card information, if it says there's a fee in order to apply for the FAFSA, or if it asks for any personal, it's anything that has to do with your money, a checking account, that is not legit. Be sure to go to FAFSA.gov, because I would hate for you to be scammed for a free service. And then when do I fill it out? Great question. You fill it out October 1st of the student senior year. So if last time I checked the poll, everyone in here was seniors, so it is available for you. I highly advise to get that filled out soon in order to be able to qualify for grants. If you are an underclassman, just know that October 1st of your senior year is when that will be open, and it has to be filled out every year you're in college in order to maintain your grant eligibility. Next question, what grants does the FAFSA determine? So the FAFSA determines 3 levels of grants. It determines federal, state, and institutional grants. So federal grants is money from the national government. There are 2 primary ones. There's one primary and one kind of every once in a while secondary. The primary one is the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is free money, can't stress that enough, free money that gets applied based on your EFC score. So you don't have to do anything additional to receive the Pell Grant. All you have to do is fill out the FAFSA. You can receive up to $6,342 per year as a student by filling out the FAFSA. That's for Pell. The SEOG grant, that is a very specific grant for students. You don't have to do anything to qualify for it other than fill out the FAFSA as early as it opens. So it's for a very select few students. So unfortunately, if you are a senior, it's probably too late to qualify for the SEOG grant. You have to meet specific qualifications and fill out the FAFSA like October 1st at midnight in order to qualify for an additional $1,500 per year. But like I said, or like it says on the slide, nothing additional is needed for qualifications for those grants. That also is a very hot topic politically. It is a conversation about aid and grants and conversations of should those grants go up, should they go down, and that's something as I've gotten into the job, it's been interesting for me to just follow that debate. It has real world effects. It has real world effects on your ability to get grants. Next level is state. So money from state governments. We are in California, so the example here is the Cal Grant. What states want to do is often states don't want you to leave their state, because like California has raised you, it's grown you, it wants to keep you because it believes that you are going to be, they want to invest in you now because they believe you are going to do great things to help the state move forward, whether that is moving forward socially, moving forward educationally, moving forward economically. States want to keep their students in state. And so the Cal Grant is available to in-state California students. You can receive up to an estimated $9,084 per year. I say estimated because state budgets aren't completed until May, generally each year. So it's never finalized. For the past, don't quote me, but for the past, I believe, 6, 7, 8 years, it's been $9,084 per year. So that amount has been the same. The level of income, the EFC number, does vary slightly per year. So if you've already received a financial aid package from us, you'll notice it says estimated Cal Grant because we can't guarantee that until we hear from them. And also for another specific reason is we can't guarantee anything until you send in your GPA verification. So that is done by high school. So it's not college admissions counselors that do that. Your high school has to send in a verification, your counselor, by March 2nd. So you have to have the FAFSA completed and the verification completed by March 2nd in order to qualify for the Cal Grant. So that's really important to keep in mind. But some of you may be out of state tuning in. I'm from Oklahoma. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I have a hat here that I keep on my lamp that says Oklahoma. So I'm very proud of my home state. I was from out of state, so I didn't qualify for Cal Grant. So what I could qualify for by filling out the FAFSA is APU grant. So what APU grant is it looks at everything you're receiving. It's looking at your academic scholarship. It's looking at club scholarships, your federal grants, Cal Grant, lack of Cal Grant. And it says, okay, what more are we able to offer in order to fill in that gap? So this really is just, for lack of a better word, bonus money that we want to give to students based on your EFC score. I've noticed for a lot of students who are from out of state, often APU will recognize that and be able to fill in that gap a little bit where the Cal Grant would go in. So 52.6% of our incoming students receive an APU grant. And again, all of that is based on you filling out the FAFSA. I can't stress that enough. The FAFSA is the top priority when talking about financial aid at institutions, at universities. And that's not just an APU thing. That is essential for pretty much any school you apply to, any accredited institution nationwide. Finally, can I appeal my EFC score to potentially receive more grants? Yes. So one very common thing this year, which is very unfortunate, is the economic state of the country and also economic state of the world, given the pandemic, with record number of people losing jobs or losing salary in jobs, getting half pay. We are working with a number of families who are in difficult financial situations. The FAFSA looks at your prior year's taxes. So this year, it means it looks at your taxes from 2019. So for some families, 2019 taxes no longer reflect what they're currently making. So some things that aren't included on the FAFSA is current money, current income, current tax levels. Also not included is if you pay for tuition for private schools K through 12. So a lot of families who have students attending a private school, it doesn't have to be the student applying to college. It could be anyone in the family, K through 12. Another common one is if you had out-of-pocket medical expenses that your insurance didn't cover. A lot of those reasons could be reasons to do the EFC appeal process. This is I don't have much information on here because it is a can of worms. It is so specific that if you do think you might be eligible for this, please reach out to us and we'll set up a one-on-one appointment to talk you through that, because it is so in depth, and there is so many specifics. I wouldn't want to get into it now and not cover everything needed. The downside to this is the FAFSA you fill out once, and it goes to all 10 schools you're applying to. This one must be completed at each university you are applying to. So let's say you've applied to 9 schools and you want to do an EFC appeal. You want to appeal the EFC number you have to try to get it lower to receive more aid. You have to complete that application, the EFC appeal application, at each individual school. So you'd have to complete it 9 times. One piece of advice I like to give families is I would wait to do the EFC appeal process until you've narrowed down your choices to 2 or 3. That way you don't have to go through the process with each individual school, but you can go through the process with the 2 or 3 top choices and then compare your final offers. That's often a little bit easier for families. It's just dawning on me, one thing I forgot to mention about the FAFSA is verification. So 1/3 of people who fill out the FAFSA are randomly selected to verify that the information they put in is accurate. You'll be getting letters from the schools you've applied to. You'll be getting notifications from FAFSA if you've been selected for verification, and then instructions will follow. So you can expect to see an email, see information coming in. So if you see that, don't be surprised. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It just means you've been flagged. It's kind of like when you go through TSA at an airport and randomly passengers will be chosen to be searched or their bags will be chosen to be searched. Kind of like that. It is a spot checker that is applied randomly for people filling out the FAFSA. All right, I'm going to take a sip of coffee really quick because my voice is getting raspy.
You're doing great, Drew.
I got a mug. Oh, Beth, thank you. Oh boy, I feel like I'm just talking to myself, which I do anyway, so it's okay. Loans. This is the final section. Loans is money received now, but paid back with interest later. I will talk about the overview of loans as long as I begin with this disclaimer. Loans are very different for each family. Everyone has even a different financial, it's called a financial risk analysis. Some people are risk averse while others are risk takers when it comes to money. For me, I am risk averse. I tend to not want to take risks with loans. I tend to want to try to pay as much as I can out of pocket. And so because each family is in a different financial place, each family needs to have a different conversation regarding loans. And if you would like to kind of jumpstart that conversation or have questions, we would, again, love to meet with you and kind of talk you through that. The second disclaimer I like to make about loans whenever I talk to families is that, again, just like people want to take your money with fake FAFSA websites, there are a lot of sketchy loans out there. It is very unfortunate and something that I wish didn't exist, but there, again, are people who are wanting to trick you. I have students who receive calls from unknown numbers saying, I've got the best loan for you. You need to take it out now. It's unbelievable. And generally, if a loan sounds too good to be true, it usually is. So just so you know, just kind of keep that in mind. And I personally, and our team is happy to, if you hear about a loan, you're like, I don't really know what to do, feel free to contact us. We obviously won't have the final say. We aren't trained in depth on loans, but at the very least, we can direct you to people who are able to help you and are able to get you those answers. So today, I'm just going to talk about the loans you qualify for filling out the FAFSA. So these are government loans that students qualify automatically for 2 loans, subsidized and unsubsidized. They are similar with a few differences. So both of them, you don't start paying back until 6 months after you graduate. So 4.5 years after you start college, that's when you start paying them back. Both of them also have the same interest rate. So what interest rate is it is a number added on top. So if you take out money now, let's say I take out $3,000. When I pay it back, as I pay it back, there'll be a little bit more added on as I pay it back. So it will end up being over $3,000. So obviously the lower your interest rate, the better it is. And there's two types of interest rates. This is where it gets nitty gritty. So I would love to talk with you. I was going to say offline, but these days everything is online. I'd love to talk to you in a separate Zoom call or a phone call about those specifics. But the subsidized and unsubsidized, the government makes sure the interest rate is low on these because it's a student's first loan. You don't have to do anything to qualify other than filling out the FAFSA. The interest rate is fixed, so it means it won't ever change. And it's at 2.75% this year. That's the lowest I've seen it in forever. I do believe that's because of the current economic crisis happening, but the interest rate is 2.75% for both these loans. The difference, however, is what's listed below. So for subsidized, the government covers your interest. So interest doesn't get added until you start paying it off 6 months after you graduate. So if you take out $3,500 now, 6 months after you graduate, it'll still be $3,500. Interest won't have accrued at all. Unsubsidized loan, interest does accrue while you're in college. So if you take out $2,000 now, when you graduate in 4.5 years, it will be more than $2,000 at that point because it will have been accruing interest the entire time you're in school. Loans, so the limits for student loans, so your subsidized and unsubsidized will add up to equal $5,500 for your freshman year. Sophomores, $6,000, and juniors and seniors will receive $7,500. You don't have to take out this full amount. You also don't have to take out any of it if you don't want to, but it's there for you. And they put those ceilings, they put those limits on there to make sure that you're not going to be taking out too many loans. You're not going to be taking out too much to where it's going to be unbearable after you graduate. There's also a Parent Plus loan. These are taken out in the parent or guardian's name. It has different terms. It does have an application, a credit credit-based application, sorry, that you need to fill out. That, if you have questions, again, we would love to talk more about it. And finally, our last slide. This is our contact information. We would love, I think I've said it probably 1,000 times. Hopefully I've said it so you know I mean it. We would love to have in-depth conversations about this subject. My final pitch I always like to say is, I personally believe that I'm not God. I don't know where you're supposed to end up, where you're going to end up, but I really pray that as counselors, we are able to come alongside you to where it doesn't feel like we are used car salesmen or, I'm gonna stop my share right now. I don't want it to feel like we are pushing APU on you saying, you have to come to APU, take out, I once heard about a university that encouraged families to take out second mortgages, encouraged families to make poor financial decisions. But that is not our heart. When you meet with one of our counselors, any one of them, they're going to want to be come alongside you and educate you and help give answers, help fill in the blanks of what does financial aid look like. And we also want to be able to make it work. We want to be able to make it work for you to come. You can see that through our large scholarships, through our job opportunities on campus, through students not graduating with much debt. We want to make it work for families. We want to do what we can. And the way we're able to help you is by you, one, filling out the FAFSA, and two, setting up a one-on-one conversation with us where we can walk through both your specific financial aid package and answer any questions. Final thing I'll say before Beth hops back on and we kind of go through some of your questions is the next event we have regarding financial aid is something called Understanding Your Financial Aid. This one is open to anyone. Understanding Your Financial Aid is exclusive to students who, one, have been admitted, and two, have already received a financial aid package. So that means having already filled out your FAFSA. What we do is it is a much more specific, itemized breakdown of our charges, our fees, everything you're receiving in grants, scholarship, loans. And then we also talk through our payment plans, how we set that up at APU, and how we come alongside you, not just as you're applying, but as a student, to make sure you're prepared with financial literacy. That event is going to be Saturday, March 13th. So feel free to go online, sign up for that. That is going to be, like I said, a much more specific training. Whereas this is more of a broad overview. That one will be specifically talking about some of the details I just didn't have the time to address today. So yeah, Beth, feel free to hop back on the screen, and please ask any questions we have. And if you also haven't gotten a chance to write your question, I love nothing more than answering questions. Well, no, I like strawberry pie, which in California, people don't know what strawberry pie is. It's an Oklahoma thing, but that's my favorite. I like that more than answering questions, but this is a close second. Beth, what questions do we have?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. So we had some great questions. I was able to answer a few on my own during this, but again, feel free to send in some more. We would love to answer. They can be nitty-gritty questions. They can be very specific. We'd love to be able to help in any way that we can. We had one from Cameron. So shout out to Cameron. Great job.
Shout out, Cameron.
Yes, he had a question about, I know you touched on this a little, but just in case anyone else is wondering. So he had a question saying he completed the FAFSA, but APU wasn't originally included in his list of initial schools. So how does he go back in and add APU? And so I know that you go to FAFSA.gov, you're going to log back in. And then I believe there's a button called Make Changes to your FAFSA. And it sounds very scary because you might, you don't want to mess anything up. You're going to go ahead and click that button. And then you'll type in APU's name. So usually if you type in Azusa, it'll come up. Or you can also use our school code, which I believe is 00. Wait, Drew, I feel like you should take this one. Do you remember the school code?
School code? Yeah, let me look it up really fast. I believe it is 001117.
I think that's right.
FAFSA APU code. 1 second. This is why it's nice to doing online. Yes, it is 001117. I will copy and paste that in the chat for us right now.
Awesome. So that was a really good question from Cameron. We also have some questions about transfer students.
I know.
So
can I take that?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I see those questions and I wanted to slap myself because I had it in my head that I forgot to say something that's very important. Our financial aid is the same for transfer and freshmen. So I profusely apologize for forgetting to mention that. In no way do I want you to feel as though you're, being looked over or not being considered. It's very common for transfer scholarships to be lower because some schools decide, okay, as transfer students, you won't be here as long as freshman students. So we're going to give freshman students more money because they'll be here for all 4 years. Well, APU, we think if you're here for a year, you're paying the same price as a freshman student. So we think you deserve the same amount of money. So like we mentioned, the presidents through Mary Hill that scale $10,000 to $21,000 per year, that applies to you as well. It's based on a different scale of GPA because to accommodate for college level GPA as opposed to high school level GPA. But yes, please know we have our entire transfer team available to support you and help you as you finish applying. And our financial aid is fully available to transfer students. We would love to have more in-depth conversation with you about that.
Perfect. Keep sending your questions in. We're receiving some more. So great job, everyone. Okay, another question we have here is, are there monthly payment plans? And so I'll go ahead and answer this one. There are. So you are able to pay your entire yearly balance at once. You're also able to pay it per semester. So it basically, let's say your yearly balance is $10,000. So then you're able to pay that all at once if you can. If not, that's totally okay. You can divide that in half, which would be your fall semester balance and then your spring, each in $5,000. And then from there, the $5,000 gets divided into 4 monthly payment plans. Monthly payment. So basically that $5,000 is divided into 4, and then you would make a payment in August, on August 1st, September 1st, October 1st, and November 1st in the fall. Same thing in the spring, January, February, March, and April. We also have a 5-month payment plan available as well. So if you'd like to divide that up a little bit more, you can totally do that as well, whatever is best for you and your family.
Yeah, and majority, I would say families are automatically placed on an 8-month payment plan or the 4-month per semester payment plan. So that's something to keep in mind. But if you do want to apply for the 5-month payment plan, that's also an option. I was looking at some of these. The next question is, so how much would the total tuition cost, including fees, dorm, et cetera, be? That's a great question. It varies a little bit based on whether you will have APU health insurance, you'll be bringing in your own health insurance, if you're getting a parking pass. But if you're going to be living on campus with a full meal plan, generally the total price for the year is about $51,000. And like I said in the presentation, that's the sticker price. The true cost on average for APU is at $25,000, $25,500. So it's about half of that is often the true cost. And if you live locally, you also can commute. So I have some students actually who commute and have, I think, provost or president scholarships, $18,000, $21,000 a year, who are able to come for less than $1,700 a year. So I'm always very surprised at how affordable it can become for some students.
Perfect. We have another one from Cameron. And his question is, how long does it take to get a full financial aid package after admittance? And then his second question is, how long does it take for the FAFSA to update and alert APU after it's added?
Oh, good question.
So really good question. I would say for the FAFSA, so that would be our first step, is just to submit that FAFSA. Typically, I would say it takes between, I would say 5 and 10 business days. So that's a pretty good range of time. And then APU will receive the FAFSA. Then we will be able to begin packaging based on that FAFSA information. And so typically it takes, again, about 5 to 10 business days, I would say. Sometimes it's a little bit quicker than that, but guaranteed within that time. And then we will actually, as your counselors, we will let you know when your financial aid package is all ready. So we will reach out to you guys, let you know, and give you a link where you can schedule a one-on-one appointment like Andrew mentioned before, where you can meet with us and we can break down your specific true cost and talk through any questions you have. So really good question.
Yeah, one helpful tidbit that I've learned recently, when we receive the FAFSA, so we package students 3 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we check to see if we've received FAFSAs and we package right away. So it's not like we do it once every 2 or 3 weeks. We'll package as soon as we receive your FAFSA, so that the turnaround is usually pretty quick. We're able to get back with you. Oh, okay. I have already been admitted to APU. Congratulations, anonymous attendee. But I was never given my student ID or any additional information. Who can I contact to resolve this issue? Oh, okay. I'm so sorry about this. If you have your counselor's email address, email your counselor. If you don't, you can send an email to, did we drop that in the chat, Beth?
I'll do that.
Send an email to the general admissions email, and we'll be able to get in contact with you to get you all of the ID, all the needed information.
Perfect. Okay, another question we have. Let's see here. Oh, someone is asking if we could send the links for the different scholarship applications, so I can go ahead and work on that.
Okay, I can answer some of these questions as you do that. Would that work?
Perfect.
Okay, great. And that goes along with the how do we apply for APU scholarships? The you're asking great questions that I need to incorporate into the PowerPoint for next time. So this is really helpful for me. To apply for APU scholarships, all you have to do is apply to APU. So for the 21,000 to 10,000 range are academic scholarships. All you have to do is apply to APU. There's no additional scholarship application necessary. For trustees, there is a separate application that's due November 15th of your senior year. And then for MEL, for Multi-Ethnic Leadership Scholarship, that's due February 15th. We have athletics, that's through the athletics department. Through your major specifically, you can reach out to your counselor and ask if your major has scholarships available. And so Beth is going to be dropping in the links to specific scholarships, but our general ones, the $10,000 to $21,000 per year, all you have to do is fill out the application. And then obviously for the APU grant, you fill out the FAFSA. Can you give any advice for someone who's a finalist for the trustee scholarship? Yes. I am going to send, here is, I love it when you can hear people typing on Zoom. It's so annoying. Okay, here is my email address. Go ahead, send me an email. I actually was talking to my supervisor earlier. This is actually my 10-year anniversary from attending Trustees Weekend. So 10 years ago, I was in your shoes. Would you mind just sending me an email? Let's set up a time to talk. I would love to kind of give you more in-depth tips and ideas, more in-depth than I could offer in a 30-second answer here, but I would love to connect with you. I think you put it in as anonymous. I'm not sure who you are, but please reach out. I would be honored to connect and kind of share a little bit about my experience as well as some tips about the interview. The number one tip is so annoying because it's cliche. It's be yourself. You've already proven that you're a good student. What they're looking for is someone who is a passionate student. So I won't say any more because I don't want to give away all my secrets. Do you wait for a financial package before appeal due to income change? Ooh, Cameron, that is an amazing question. One, Cameron, you have really good questions. I think to the point it might warrant reaching out to us. Let's have a one-on-one conversation. We could talk through your family specific situation. But you don't have to wait for your financial package as long as you filled out the the FAFSA. Technically, you don't have to wait, but APU has to have already received the FAFSA. So really, it's a question of a couple days. I would encourage you wait until we get the package. We can talk about where you're currently at, have that one-on-one conversation to kind of talk through next steps. And then we could enter into the appeal process together. Your counselor has instructions that they can send you as well. When you go back and add a new school for the FAFSA, is it better to delete all the previous schools you already submitted it to or take out a few? Great. Sorry, Beth, I apologize for flying.
No
you
worries.
answer this one.
That's a really good question. I wouldn't think you would delete the previous schools, and I could be wrong. If you ever have questions like that about the FAFSA application, the FAFSA has a fantastic live chat where you're able to ask questions with someone from the FAFSA. So I would do that if I were you, unless, Andrew, you have a specific answer to that with if you can delete schools or
I'm surprised. I actually do. So you do have to delete schools. So because you can only have a max of 10, I wouldn't go and delete all of these schools. I would just delete like one or two to replace it. I mean, if there's schools you're just no longer interested in at all, you can delete those because it doesn't really matter if they get your FAFSA now. But I would definitely keep the schools you're still interested in, keep those on there. But selfishly, delete enough so that APU can be on it. Okay, last question. Do you think APU will have room and housing costs by the fall? Yes, we will have room and housing costs by the fall because we will have room and housing. We are fully planning on being on campus. Again, things are very fluid in this time. So I don't want to say 100% we are going to be back because I don't know if you're like me, I've gotten really tired of hearing people guarantee things that they don't actually know answers to. But we are fully planning on being back in the fall. With the vaccination rollout, with everything happening right now, we feel very confident we'll be able to be back. And so if we are back, that means we will have our dorms open, we'll have our apartments open, and we will have our eating areas open, which would mean costs. So hopefully we will have costs there and available for housing and eating. Cost of attendance, right at $51,000 is the sticker price, and then the true cost is right around $25,500. But every family, every student changes a lot. So I would encourage you to apply and then have a conversation with your counselor. All right, Beth, we did it with time to spare.
We did it.
Thank you all so much for sticking with us, for joining us for this time. If you have any further questions, please utilize that email. Feel free to email me. We are so happy to discuss. Thank you, everyone.
See you next time. Bye.